Hi, this is Jan Roten. I wanted to take you through the outline for your Paper 1 prompt. I'm going to try to keep this short, but hopefully this will help you in outlining and structuring your paper. The question is, how does the author of one of the stories from weeks 3, 4, 5, or 6, so any of the stories that you've read you can use. How does the author use conflict to reveal his theme? So you have to select, number one, a theme that you believe. You may use any of the stories. You may not use Hills Like White Elephants or Secret Lion. Discuss the multiple conflicts which create the plot development in any one stories from the previous lesson. Conflicts can be between characters, characters between themselves, characters with society, societies with societies, or characters or societies between nature and or God. And I've kind of left out society against society, so that's group against group. War would be that. Okay, when we get to Tim O'Brien, war. Explain how each conflict influences the action of these characters. As I've said before, plot is created by conflict. Are the conflicts resolved? Not all conflicts are resolved. Hills Like White Elephants, we don't know what's going to happen. If or if not, what are the resulting underlying themes? Why are conflicts of these fictional characters and their experiences important for readers today? That's basically what you're looking for. What I want you to come away from in this course is, why do I have to read this? Why do I have to do all this work? Well, somebody wrote these stories to teach us a lesson, and we're supposed to learn these lessons. Unfortunately, we don't do all the reading, and this is a way that we have the opportunity to share and learn from the experiences of others. So first, okay, every essay has a backstory, and you're doing literary analysis. And what you do in your literary analysis is prove to me that you have researched this author. You know who he is, you know when he wrote, you know what he wrote, and you are an authority on one particular piece of literature. So do exactly what I just said. You're going to give me the basic background. Okay, give me some details, and this is where you do some historical research. So you may not write about Hills Like White Elephants, so I can talk about that. Okay, you're going to give me a background of Ernest Hemingway. You're going to look that up. You're going to research it. You're going to tell me that why he lived in Spain, and why he stayed in Spain, and why he loved bullfighting, and what works was he famous for. And he wrote The Old Man and the Sea, and he won a Pulitzer Prize, and he won a Nobel Prize. But okay, now we've got to get to the thesis, and we've got to get to our stories. One of the most studied of Hemingway's works is a very small short story entitled Hills Like White Elephants. And the reason that it is studied so much is because of its simplistic presentation of whatever you believe the theme to be. That's what we're trying to get to. And Hemingway reveals this theme through multiple conflicts within the structure of his story. So I want you to see how I went from babbling on about the life of Ernest Hemingway, which you're going to research and give me, to that one little story, its theme, and how that theme is revealed through conflict. When you in the body section, these are going to be the 3 major paragraphs of your paper. You're going to flat out discuss conflict number 1, conflict number 2, conflict number 3. Okay, so conflict number 1, man versus man. That would be Jig versus the American. Okay, they're a couple. You don't even have to tell me we don't know what they're arguing about. You know, that's the whole thing. So you've got people argue in relationships. You could discuss that. You don't even have to talk about the abortion. That can be number B or part B, your second paragraph. The second paragraph is man versus nature. That's going to be Jig versus the fact that she got herself pregnant. Because when you behave this way, you have to, nature's going to react. I wanted to say you have to pay the consequences, but that's not it. Nature is reacting. Okay, so this is Jig versus nature. Okay, and then C, what would that be? Okay, maybe society versus society, or the individual versus society. That's Jig going out into society, there are two societies that she has. She can stay within her small little society. Will she be accepted there with a child? Or can she go back to the United States of America and be a single mother? Okay, so I'm saying within the gist of your paper, okay, conflict number 1, man versus man, okay, Jig versus American. Conflict number 2, man versus nature, Jig versus the biology of her changing body. Conflict number 3, man versus society. That's Jig versus the environment that she's going to have to learn to live within as either an individual who has chosen to have an abortion or an individual who has chosen to keep her baby. We don't know. You could go ahead and make that projection. You're not going to talk about Hills Like White Elephants anyway. You're going to discuss one of the other stories, okay? So now we're at the conclusion where you're going to bring all of these conflicts together and explain to me how they support a central message. And themes should be stated in a complete sentence, and it should be universal. If we're talking about Hills Like White Elephants, we're not going to say, Ernest Hemingway believes that abortion is good. That is not the theme of Hills Like White Elephants. Or that Ernest Hemingway believes that abortion is bad. You're not going, it's going to be universal. It's not going to mention Jig, and it's not going to mention the author. It's not going to be Hills Like White Elephants has a theme of love. Well, yes, love is a central issue in Hills Like White Elephants. I believe that these two people love each other passionately. They certainly have been together for a while, and now she's pregnant. They're about to have a family together. They've got to make a decision as to whether they want to continue, whether their love can survive this conflict. That's the problem. So, what about love? Passionate love is not enough to maintain a mature relationship. Do you see? I've not mentioned anybody's name. Passion alone is not enough to maintain a mature relationship within the confines of changing social issues, okay, whatever it might be. And remember, this was written in 1929. Okay, more simply stated, love is not enough. But that's too simple and it's a cliche. Now, so Hills Like White Elephants could be about love or individuality. I think individuality, but it's basically the same thing. A mature relationship must have individual strength. The individual must find inner strength in order to nurture or be a part of mature relationships. And I'm babbling. You've got to go back and edit and hone and make your statement of theme very concise and well stated. And how is that theme reflected within the conflicts that you've discussed in your paper? Lastly, your last page is going to be your works cited page. In MLA, you're not giving me a reading list. You're giving me a list of the 4 sources that you've used and that you have actually mentioned in your paper, and you have put those authors, the 4 authors that you mentioned on your works cited page, those authors are also mentioned in your paper. So if you have quotations from Jig says, I feel fine, I'm perfectly all right, whatever it is she says. And you've got Hemingway in parentheses. I go to the works cited page, I see Hemingway, Ernest, Hills Like White Elephants, and then I see editors' names, Compact Literature. So look that up. You're going to have to look that up. That's how do you cite a short story in an anthology. You're going to do some research in your introduction. Maybe you use a web page. That's okay with me. But everything that you use needs to have an author. So you find an article that has an author. Somebody wrote on Ernest Hemingway, which has a little history about him you found somewhere. Say John Smith wrote it. Okay, so you have Smith John, I love Ernest Hemingway in your works cited page. Well, I'm going to see something paraphrased in your introduction or somewhere in your paper, and in parentheses, I'm not going to see the title of the article. I will see Smith. That's Mr. Smith's article, and I see his last name on the works cited page. Now make sure that you look all of this up. You want to make sure that you're using MLA format of documentation for this paper. I'm going to stop now. I want to make sure that you have an understanding of the basic outline that I want you to use for this paper. Good luck, and thanks for hanging in there.